Welcome to today's show. Today's guest really needs no introduction whatsoever. He's played over 240 first grade NRL games. He's played in 4 grand finals, the only guy ever to play in 4 grand finals for 3 different clubs. He's also represented New South Wales in state of origin, and he's played for Ireland in the World Cup. The one and only Kevin Campion. Welcome, Kevin.
Yeah, you've done your homework, haven't you? I played for Queensland. How can you say that I played for New South Wales? My goodness.
Oh, sorry, Queensland. Yeah. It's very early in the morning here, Kevin. So.
Yes, I understand, mate. Just got out of bed.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So you've had an amazing career in rugby league. Fantastic career. Played for some amazing clubs and played in a serious amount of grand finals. What would be the most special moments for you, like, throughout your career?
Oh, look, there's a few. I think, making my first grade debut for the Gold Coast Seagulls was a special moment. Coached by the great Wally Lewis, and had some amazing players in that side. Steve Jackson, Dale Shearer, Brent Todd, to name a few, Paul Martin, Peter Gill, Clinton Moore. Yeah, some great names of rugby league over here in Australia, and some of them went on to play in England. Especially, Peter Gill played for the London Broncos there, and I know he was named in the team of the year back in 1996 and 1997. So he was a great mentor for me. Yeah.
You went on then, you played for St. George, the Broncos, the New Zealand Warriors. Like, it really is the who's who in the NRL, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess I was fortunate. I got the opportunity to I signed Super League actually, and headed down to Adelaide in 1996. The game was the competition was called off in the courts, and I had the opportunity to go to I had the opportunity to go back to the Gold Coast, but I had an offer from St. George, so I thought I'd spent 4 years at the Gold Coast, and my football career wasn't going anywhere, so I thought I'd go and try my luck down in Sydney. And as it turned out, it was one of the best moves of my career. Sort of that year, 1996, we made the grand final against Manly. Unfortunately lost, but had a really good year and played with some amazing players. Players like Mark Corn and Anthony Mundine and Nathan Brown and Dave Barnhill and Scotty Goulet and Jeff Hardy and just to name a few. So look, I was very lucky, and that particular year was one of the one of my favourite years in my career.
Yeah, you would have gone on to play in the World Cup 2000 with David Barnhill. You would have been a squad member of the Ireland team as well. Yeah. And Nick Zisti would have been in that St. George team as well, wasn't he?
Nicky Zisti was in that. Mark Bell. We had some Adrian Brunker, who was a great mate of mine, was in that side as well. So look, there was a bit of a mix from a few players from the Gold Coast. Had ventured down to the Dragons that particular year, and it just made it a bit more welcoming, a bit more easier transition, and just a great year, and just a great club. It's full of tradition. The amount of premierships they've won, and they're very professional. So and I learned a lot under the coach David Waite there at that time, and he suited my style of play. I needed some structure, needed to know my job, and he basically just laid it out on a map, and it was just a fantastic year.
Yeah, David Waite, then he'd go on to coach Great Britain for a couple of series as well. Yeah, so he went on to coach internationally as well. Fantastic coach.
Yeah, very good, very good coach, very astute, and kept it very simple. But every player knew their job and their role in that team. So I think that's probably one of the reasons we were so successful in that 96 year.
Mm. You touched briefly there on moving to a Super League club. You as a player, what was your views on everything that was going down at the time between Super League and the ARL at the time?
Yeah, look, I know there was a war between the ARL and the Super League, but there was no animosity between the players. it was an opportunity for, players to start making some money, and just got to understand, back in the day, my first contract at Seagulls, I was playing, it was a $30,000 fee, but I had to play 20 games to get that $30,000. So, the Super League sort of gave us an opportunity to, to sign on and be a professional sports person. And I think everyone jumped at the chance. And it wasn't really about the money. It was just about the opportunity to turn professional. And it was just a great experience. I know there was a war between ARL and Super League, but yeah, look, the players were, they've been playing together forever. So there wasn't any animosity between the players. I know that the top ranked players of that time were, got paid very well. So on both sides. So it wasn't, it was all fair.
Yeah. Do you think it was good for the sport in the end, money-wise?
I was great for the player in the end. I think, it was, I didn't like some of the Super League rules. I was traditional rugby league at heart, ARL supporter. So, look, when they went back to, when the two, identities merged and came to be the NRL, it was a great time for everyone.
Mm. Yeah, I suppose the sport's definitely moved on now anyway. When you finished St. George, then you went to the Broncos. You had a very successful period at the Broncos as well. More grand finals, even scoring tries in grand finals. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, look, I don't want to say too much because, I think a lot of people say that I didn't score a try in that grand final. But look, it was just a great experience. To be a part of that Broncos side in 98, 99 and 2000 was just, was a dream come true. I was a young kid from North Queensland, and before the Cowboys had come into the competition, the Broncos were, everyone's team in Queensland. So, and it was a dream of mine to play for the Broncos. I had to go the long way about it. I had to, start at the Gold Coast and work my way to, to St. George and get a bit of recognition. And when the Super League the competition kicked off, I was lucky enough to play for the Super League, the Queensland Super League side. So that was my first introduction to Wayne Bennett, and yeah, it was just great. And we kicked, our friendship sort of kick-started from there. And when I was in Adelaide playing for the Adelaide Rams, I rang Wayne for some advice. I was having some issues with my contract negotiations, and I asked Wayne for his advice, and he gave me his advice. And then, a couple of months later, he rang me and asked me if I wanted to come to the Broncos. So, yeah, it was just one of those, moments in time that I got to meet, the greatest rugby league coach of all time, and formed a special relationship with him.
Wayne Bennett would have also coached you in State of Origin as well for Queensland, wouldn't he?
Yeah, look, I was lucky enough to play my Origins in 2001 and 2002. So, yeah, it was Wayne was obviously my coach and mentor at the Broncos from 98 to 2000. We won the premiership in 2000, and I was lucky enough to go to the New Zealand Warriors and make the Queensland side from there. So it was special. Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. Yeah, you played in the Super League Tri-Series as well, didn't you? Which was inclusive of New Zealand, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was over. It was a Tri-Series. Queensland, New South Wales, and New Zealand. So it was a funny sort of structure, but it worked, and guys that wouldn't have had the opportunity to play for Queensland in the ARL and in Super League got that opportunity to represent their state. So yeah, it was great. It was great. A very proud moment. First Queensland jersey, and to play over in New Zealand against New Zealand was something special.
Yeah, yeah. Then of course you'd make a move to the Warriors there in the years to come. Another grand final.
Yeah. It's that was in 2002. We I'd signed with Warrington to go over to England in 2000 after the 2000 season, and had a bit of cold feet right at the death, and got the opportunity to sign with the New Zealand Warriors, and it was an amazing experience. Living in a different country, playing with the likes of Stacey Jones and players like Ali Lartidi and Owen Guttenbeil and Clinton Tupy and Logan Swan, and so many great players that we played that we had in that team, especially Stacey. He was just one of the greats of all time, and I hold him in high stead. Up there with Alfie Langer and Darren Lockyer as my probably my three favourite players of all time.
Yeah. It was a fantastic team, the New Zealand team, Warriors team back then. A lot of them guys you probably would have took on playing for Ireland against the Maoris in the World Cup as well, wouldn't you? Yeah,
we joked about it when I got there in 2001. After the World Cup in 2000, it was funny, because I love the Irish song, Irish national anthem, and the boys from Samoan and New Zealand Maoris, we played them in the World Cup in 2000, and I used to rub it into them all the time. We'd have recovery sessions, and I'd be singing the Irish national anthem just to rub it into them and just give them a bit of stick.
Why not? So yeah, fantastic. I suppose in the two grand finals as well against the Roosters, you would have played against Luke Ricketson as well, and you would have played alongside him in the World Cup as well. Yeah.
No, Rico, we formed a good friendship in the 2000 World Cup. Myself, there's a few Aussies in that side, Denny Williams, and who else was in that side?
Michael Withers.
Michael Withers, and there was a few others too. Chucky Heron was in that side. Jamie Matthew, Dave Barnhill. Yeah, we just had a good group, just a good staunch group of Aussies in that side as well, and we all got on well. And the English and Irish boys just welcomed us with open arms, and we had such a great time. We spent 6 weeks overseas. We spent a week in Spain to kick off our start to the cup, and we spent a couple of weeks in Belfast, a couple of weeks in Dublin, and then we headed back to England for that quarter final. So yeah, look, it was we gelled really well, and it was such a special time. And I think it was the first time that Ireland had ever made a quarter final of a World Cup. So that was a great achievement for all of us, especially the coaching staff, who did a tremendous job.
There was how did the actual getting the call up for the World Cup? How did all that come about?
Oh, look, I got asked. I've got ancestry from France, so I got asked to represent France as well. And but I'm all my ancestry is from Ireland. So Campion is an Irish name as well. So look, it came under the grandfather rule. My grandfather was born in Ireland. I think it was they used to call him a 10-pound pom or something. He travelled over, late 1800s or early 1900s, and settled here in Australia. So it was great. It was fantastic. Had a great time. Yeah.
I was actually at the game when you were playing the New Zealand Maori, so I got to see you playing and all the lads playing when you won in Tolka Park. So I was there cheering you on. Immensely proud moment for me to see is not only see you guys playing, but actually getting the win as well and going through then to face the old enemy England in the quarterfinals. So.
Yeah, it was a special time. Yeah, it's tremendous players in that side. You know, we had our captain Terry O'Connor and Barry McDermott, and you know, we had Chris Joyner, who was my roomie during the tour. Tommy Martin playing as well. Mark Forster.
Yeah.
You know, just so many great players that have represented, and they were very passionate to play for Ireland, which was a great thing. It was very surprising. A lot of England. I think Brian Carney was the only true Irishman in the side. So the other boys were, you know, had Irish English heritage, but they were so passionate and turned away for the opportunity to play for England and put their hand up for Ireland. So yeah, look, from day one we knew what we were all about and what our objective was and what our goals were. And that goal was obviously to make the final of the World Cup, but you know, just to play some great footy and make the quarterfinals. That was a great achievement for everyone.
Yeah. When the squad was initially released for the World Cup, I couldn't believe some of the players that had put their hands up to play for Ireland, you know. I would have followed you, Luke, Danny Williams and stuff from watching the NRL on Sky Sports and listening to Ray Warren commentating. So interest particularly peaked a lot more with you guys when you put your hands up, and I couldn't wait to see it. I couldn't get me ticket for the World Cup quick enough. And then it made the nation immensely proud. It was great. It was a great time over here. It was great. We had a huge interest.
Yeah, we had a little fellow who was our strapper trainer. His name is Seamus, and he was an Irishman, and he was very, very bloody. Look, he just wanted us to win no matter what, and he hated England. And look, and that set the tone basically for the whole tour. You know, he used to talk about you know, the history of Ireland and you know what they'd been through with the English, and he had us primed for that quarter final, and it was amazing. You know, if you watch us singing the national anthem in that quarter final, you know, we were ready for that game, and we were on that day. Unfortunately, you know, just a couple of little things didn't go our way, and we didn't get the chocolates.
No, I remember when the teams were released, both squads were announced, and I was convinced you were going to beat them. I was convinced you guys were going to do them, because when I looked and I seen so many lads playing in NRL Grand Final, Super League Grand Final, State of Origin, I was saying, we have this. This is going to be good. We're going to give them a good run. But look, it wasn't to be. In my eyes, it was one that got away. Did you feel like it was one that got away after the game?
Yeah, there was. I think there was a moment in the game that we just, you know, I think we had the upper hand, and look, I haven't watched the game too many times, but I just remember we had an opportunity to score, and for some reason we went right, and we should have, and you know, instead of going left, and it didn't work out, and yeah, it's just one of those moments, I guess.
Well, I'm still convinced we had the better team. I'm still convinced we had the better team. Yeah.
Oh, look, I think that game just put Ireland on the map. I think and that was a great thing about it. You know, we showed you know, all of our supporters that you know, that we weren't going to die wondering, and we weren't going to give up for each other, which was a great thing. And yeah, it was a terrific game.
You had me up out of my seat at one stage, shouting at the TV. You had the ball and you were heading towards the line, and you just hadn't got the legs. And I was going, run, go on, go. It wasn't to be, but it was just one of them moments that just didn't happen, you know. So close.
So close, yeah. And then look, and you know, to England's credit, they just you know, they kicked away in the end and just got us. But it was a great game of rugby league, and very, very proud to be a part of it.
Yeah. It created a huge buzz over here because it was being advertised on national television, national radio, Sky Sports Show, the BBC Sports Show. They're like a huge coverage, and it done wonders for the game here. So I don't think you guys really realise the impact that you made for rugby league in general in Ireland, and it's still being talked about 22 years later with great passion and pride.
It's funny, we spent the first 2 weeks in Belfast, which was an amazing experience, and I think we played 2 games in Belfast, and then we came in and played 1 game in Dublin, or it might have been the other way around. But we won all of our competition round games, and just the support that we had, and it was just such a special time. Just going to the ground and knowing that we've got all this support from Ireland, and I think a lot of people didn't know the game of rugby league, so I think that some of them would have been experiencing the game for the first time. So, but they turned up and they were vocal, and especially when we won, there was always there was a great cheer after every game.
I actually still have the ticket stub from the New Zealand Maori game. Still have that now, Never going to let that go. I still have the old replica jersey as well, that just we're wearing on the day in the World Cup. So,
I think it was the New Zealand Maoris, and this is some of the boys that I played with at the Warriors, when they were doing the haka and they were walking towards us. We're standing in a line in front of them, and there was probably 10 or 12 of them got on their hands and knees, got on their knees, picked up a clump of grass and threw it at us. So we're all before the kickoff, we're all spitting grass out of our mouths. So so it was a pretty funny moment.
That was a unique haka as well. They came out from underneath the posts in a triangle as well. I'd never seen that before. Now that was a totally new one on me. So.
Well, so that was my first experience, for a haka, and it was an amazing time, and very respectful, knowing the history in New Zealand. So it was just unbelievable.
Yeah, it didn't phase us anyway. He's won. That's the main thing. So he's got the
We
win.
did, yes. Yeah. But all 3 games were, I think we played Samoan, Scotland, and New Zealand Maoris, and all 3 games were in the balance, and it was just we just had some really classy players on that side. It's led by our forward pack and our forward leaders.
Yeah, it was very strong in the forward department, were you? But geez, when you look back, like there would have been Chris Joynt, Terry O'Connor, Barry McDermott. They used to play for Great Britain in 2001 in the Ashes against the Australians. Yeah,
that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Then you had yourself and Luke Ricketson and
Chrissy John. I think Danny Williams was playing hooker at the time.
Yeah.
So it was great. Yeah.
It was an immense team. Probably the best squad that Ireland have ever assembled, really.
Yeah, well, it was funny. Like after that, I'm sure most of that Irish side would have represented England again, or Great Britain. But myself and Rico went on to play Origin, and Rico went on to represent Australia. So so then we had Dave Barney, who represented Origin and Australia as well, and so many, just a great bunch of guys.
Yeah, really, really fondly memories here now. 22 odd years later, still being talked about.
I can't believe it's 22 years. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. You don't look like you've aged at all, really. You still look like the young fella that ran out for Ireland 22 years ago.
Lost a bit of hair there. Lost a bit of hair.
No, it's just a tight haircut. So, I suppose the forthcoming World Cup now, you looking forward to it?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the Irish side. I know Luke Keary's put his hand up for the Irish side, so that's going to be a major boost for us. He's such a quality player. He should, if there wasn't a Nathan Cleary or a Cherry Evans, he'd probably be representing Australia. But I'm glad. I'm glad there's so many avenues to represent your your home countries, or where your ancestors are from. It's great that Samoa and Tonga and New Zealand are taking all their players. Players from Tonga and Samoa are putting their hands up to play for their national countries. And yeah, I think it's just a great concept that everyone's being allowed to do that.
Yeah, there's going to be some immense squads there. Like Tonga are looking very strong. Samoa are looking extremely strong as well. Yeah, obviously Australia, New Zealand. I can't wait. It's very hard to judge.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how Tonga and Samoa. I know they're very competitive. And you see only a couple of years ago Tonga beating, I think it was Australia. So it's going to be interesting to see how it goes. There's so many great athletes in those Islander sides. Anything can happen on the day.
I think we'll do good ourselves. We'll do well ourselves. I don't think the squad is officially announced until the first week of November. So we're still not 100% sure who's going to be playing, who's going to be in the squad, who's injured and can't make it or whatever. So we're really looking forward to it.
Yeah. Well, I've been asked to from the Irish, squad to keep an eye out for anyone that I consider capable of making that squad. So I've been scouting around to see who we can bring into the side.
Oh, okay. You having any luck?
Yeah, there's a few players that are eligible and can put up their hands. Just trying to convince them to put up their hands.
Okay, so yeah. We won't give away any names just yet. Anyway, don't be putting you on the spot. So might get the two of us into trouble. So we won't delve any deeper into that one now. Oh, very good. I suppose just going back to your career now, out of all the coaches you played under, and you played under some magnificent coaches, who influenced you the most throughout your career?
Oh, look, I think Wayne was the best coach I've had, and it wasn't in a technical sense or anything like that. It was just a great friend, and basically knew what made me tick, and knew all about my family and what I was going through at the time. I had two young kids, who didn't sleep very well, so I had to go to training 2 hours before we'd sort of start off just to get some sleep, because my two young boys just wouldn't sleep. So Wayne knew the predicament I was sort of in, and looked after me.
Very good.
But I've had some amazing coaches. I think David Waite, Daniel Anderson at the Warriors, David Waite at St George. That was a great year that I had under Waite. Really loved the style that he played. Very structured, but everyone knew their job, and I think Ando was a bit the same. I think he was a tremendous coach. Who else? I've had some really good players. Even look back at Wally Lewis, John Harvey, who had an influence on my career as well. Phil Economides, who was our reserve grade coach at the Gold Coast Seagulls when I was there. So look, there's been some great coaches. I've been lucky to have some really good coaches, but Wayne stands out because he was a genuine person, great person, and really showed he really tried to look after me.
Yeah, and still going strong as a coach.
Yeah, he's going well, mate. I think he's given himself 2 or 3 years up at the Dolphins, and
yeah.
I think they brought in Christian Wolf to transition into that head coaching role, which is great. But look, he will go down as the greatest. But again, you don't become a great coach without great players either. So he's coached some wonderful players throughout his career. So he's been fortunate as much as the players have been fortunate enough to be coached by him.
I suppose you played with some outstanding players throughout the years, like them, particularly some of them Brisbane teammates that you had. If you had to call out a few names out of different players from different teams over your career, who would you single out? Your pick 3 or 4
that I played against or played with.
Both.
Oh, look, I think Brad Fittler was probably one of the greatest that I played against. He was such a competitor, so strong and fast, but he had a lot of influence on any game that he played in. So, look, I love playing with Alfie. He's my favourite of all time. I think just a special player. All you had to do was follow Alf around, and something was always going to happen. I think Darren Lockyer, such a skillful kid, and just well balanced, and just great athleticism. And Stacey Jones was the same, just a strong, for such a little guy. He was so strong and so quick off the mark, and very competitive. I think forward wise, I think Brad Thorne is one of my favourites. Gordon Tallis, such a lunatic on the field. Shane Webke, just how Webby started the game was how he finished the game. So he didn't know anything else. He was just had a great motor for a big man. Ali Latidi, one of the most skillful forwards that I played with, could do some unbelievable things with the ball on the field, and so fast for such a big man. Like, it was 105 kilos, and just fast, and just had such skill with that ball, and could hold it like an egg in his hand. And Clinton Tupy he's another nutcase. He was such a good player. Early on in my career, Dale Shearer was fortunate enough to play with Rowdy, and did some special things on the field. Some silly things, but special things. Some things that you just wouldn't, you just can't coach, and you wouldn't coach. And I played with some, tough men. I started my career packing in the front row with Brent Todd, which was an experience. Some other players. Looking back, I think Ray Herring, who was a Brisbane Bronco, came to the Gold Coast Seagulls, with such an inspiration and a great mentor to a lot of the young crew that we had there. And you've got to understand, back at Seagulls, in our junior side that we had, the under 21s it was called, we had myself, Adrian Vowes, Scott Sattler, Jamie Goddard, just to name a few. And we all went on to represent Queensland. Wayne Bartram played for in that under 21 side, early in that 21 side. So we were all mentored by Ray, I guess, because he had a great work ethic, and he just basically taught us all how to train and what it took to compete at that level. So we're very fortunate to have players like that as well.
Jeez, I hear you going through all the names, you're saying, Jesus, like, you tend to forget, the amount of players that you played with and against, and yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, but I mean, at St. George again, we had such a special squad that particular year. To play, as you mentioned before, Nick Zisti, Adrian Brunker, we had Nolly Goldthorpe, we had Jeff Hardy, we had Mark Coyne in that side, our captain. And then you look at our forward back, Jason Stevens, you had Troy Stone, you had Scotty Goulet. And these guys all went, Dave Barnhill, Nathan Brown, Chop Mundine, he was an unbelievable player as well. I probably should he's definitely in my top 5. Anthony Mundine, he's such a gifted player, and that particular year in '96, he was just on fire. He should have played for Australia that year and New South Wales. But yeah, played with some really good players. So I was very, very fortunate.
Yeah, particularly then the Brisbane Broncos. You would have Wendell Saylor, Lottie Takiri, Shane Webke, Andrew G. Like the list just goes on and on and on, doesn't it? Really,
I think that forward back in '98 was that team that I was involved with in '98. Gigi, Webby, I think Phil Lee was the hooker, Johnny Plath. Then you had Tony Carroll was locked in the scrum. Then you had Gordon Tellis and Brad Thorne as the second rowers. But I also played it in North Queensland, so I had the opportunity to play with Matty Bowen. And he's one of the great kids. He was only a kid when I first got up there, and he was such a talent, so quick, and his his footwork was just unbelievable. And he obviously went on to play for Queensland and Australia, which was such a credit to him because he was such a gifted player. And I played with Glenn Morrison, who was a great player. I think Paul Rahihi played up there as well. These guys all went and played over in the UK. Luke O'Donnell played for New South Wales and Australia. Paulie Bowman, Matty Singh, just to name a few. Yeah, so I play with a lot of great players. Yeah. I've been very fortunate. I didn't mention Graham Murray as as one of the great coaches that I've had. Muzz that took that team when I got there in 2003, that Cowboys side. At the end of 2004, I think we were playing in the prelim to go into the grand final. So, in 2 years, he turned that whole club around, and credit to him because he was a great coach as well.
Yeah, fantastic player.
I forget how many bloody clubs I played for. That's my problem.
I can top them all up here for you now. Will I tally them up for you?
I know.
You've been around.
And I played with some tremendous players down in Adelaide when that Super League. I got the opportunity to play with Kieran Walters and Alan Cann, and had a great mate Chris Quinn, Kurt Wrigley played down there as well. Played with some great Cronulla boys, Dave Borton, Andrew Hill, Cameron Blair. Some great players. Yeah. And that's the great thing about rugby league is that you don't meet too many dickheads, and it's just full of working class men who just love the game, and they love a beer, and that's what I love. That's what I miss today.
Talking about beer, when the World Cup 2000 was over, did you all go out and have a big party?
I came back to Australia an alcoholic because you drink pints. You drink pints over there, and I just. By the time I got back, because we only drink schooners over here, and I'm sculling like a 7.
Big pint glass, big pint.
The big pints. Mate, we spent a couple of nights at the Guinness factory in Dublin. Oh, it was great, and it was a closed shop, players only, players and staff only. And they looked after us.
Fond memories, anyway. So.
Yes, fond memories.
Brilliant. So, post-retirement now, what have you been doing with yourself now since you retired? Or?
I've had a few businesses. I've had a real estate business here on the Gold Coast. When I retired, actually, I went over and coached as an assistant over at the Warriors. So then I started a business over here. Real estate business, and now we've got a commercial cleaning business and a commercial waterproofing business. So keeps me busy, keeps me off the streets.
Keeps you out of
Yeah,
trouble.
gives me time with my family, which is great. And yeah, life's good, mate. Life's really good.
Excellent. Brilliant to hear that. I suppose we'll wrap it up there anyway at that, you know. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for your time. And I've really enjoyed the chat with you, you know.
And I
Really,
do
really, really
apologise
have.
for the stuff around over the last couple of weeks, but yeah, I do. It's great
No
to.
apologies needed. It was worth the wait. Worth the wait. So no apologies needed.
Nah,
Right,
thank you,
everybody.
mate.
The one and only Kevin Campion.